The call came from the WTA offices just days before the Miami Open draw was released. Tournament director James Blake picked up the phone expecting the usual scheduling coordination, which seeds would play on which days, how to balance the broadcast requirements, the standard bureaucratic dance that defines modern tennis. Instead, he got an earful. Someone at the WTA was questioning his decision to put Alex Eala on center court. The 20-year-old Filipina, ranked number 29 in the world, didn't have the rankings to justify the sport's biggest stage, they argued. What about the higher-ranked players? What about competitive fairness? Blake listened. He let them finish. And then the former world number 4 did something that left the tennis world stunned. He went off. Not quietly, not diplomatically. He reminded the WTA exactly what happened the last time a tournament underestimated Alex Eala's fans. And in doing so, he drew a line in the sand that every tournament director from Melbourne to Miami is now watching closely. James Blake will never forget March 2025. It was his first year as tournament director of the Miami Open, a prestigious role for a man who had reached world number 4 during his playing career and earned respect across the tennis world. The schedule seemed straightforward. Put the highest-ranked players on the biggest courts, let the rankings dictate the pecking order, give the fans what they supposedly wanted. Then, Joe Fonseca happened. The 18-year-old Brazilian had been scheduled to play on Grandstand, the tournament's second-largest show court. It seemed reasonable. Fonseca was young, unproven, ranked outside the top 100. But when match time arrived, thousands of Brazilian fans flooded the grounds, waving flags, singing samba chants, creating an atmosphere that Grandstand simply couldn't contain. What happened next became tournament legend. A retirement elsewhere created a gap in the stadium court schedule. Organizers made the frantic decision to move Fonseca's match to the main arena, but the change required a ticket upgrade. When the announcement was made, Brazilian fans waiting at Grandstand erupted in boos. The noise was so loud that play had to be paused during an ongoing match between Jack Draper and Jakub Mensik just to restore order. Blake watched the chaos unfold and made a silent promise: never again. Fast forward 12 months, Alex Eala had her own Miami moment in 2025, arriving as a wildcard ranked number 140 and leaving as a global sensation after stunning Jelena Ostapenko, Madison Keys, and Iga Świątek in straight sets. The Filipino community in South Florida, hundreds of thousands strong, had found their hero. And when Ayala returns to Hard Rock Stadium in March 2026, the scenes promised to make last year's Brazilian invasion look like a warm-up act. This time, Blake was ready. This time, he wasn't leaving anything to chance. "I think we're going to need them to be on center court because they have so many fans worldwide," Blake told Tennis Channel ahead of the tournament. "These might feel like home matches for both of them." But not everyone at the WTA agreed. The details remain private, but sources close to the situation confirmed that Blake received pushback from WTA officials regarding Ayala's court assignment. The argument was predictable. Rankings should determine scheduling. Ayala, despite her meteoric rise, was seeded 31st. Players ranked above her, names like Amanda Anisimova, Victoria Mboko, and others, deserved priority on the biggest stage. Blake listened. Then he spoke. "Harkening back to last year when I learned my lesson, Fonseca needs to be on stadium," he later recounted on Tennis Channel, laughing at the memory but dead serious about the principle. He reminded the WTA exactly what happened at the Australian Open just 2 months earlier. Ayala's first-round match against Alicia Parks was scheduled on Court 6, a modest outer court. The result was chaos. Thousands of Filipino fans wrapped around Melbourne Park, forming queues that stretched back toward Rod Laver Arena. Security formed a human chain at the entrance, turning away hundreds, maybe thousands, who had traveled across oceans to watch their hero. Those who couldn't get in refused to leave. They crowded around outdoor viewing areas, packed shoulder to shoulder, waving flags and chanting in Tagalog until the early hours.
The chair umpire repeatedly asked for quiet during points, a rare occurrence for a player ranked outside the top brackets. Tennis journalist Jose Morgado posted a reaction that summed up the frustration. Putting Ayala on court 6 is just dumb. Blake wasn't about to make the same mistake. And Ayala, it's been quite a thrill ride for her this last year as well. I feel like last year, this event, it was a little bit of a coming out party where she had some great results coming from a wild card position as well. Then came the line that should silence every critic. So I think the international interest in both of them is so high, and Miami being such a cultural melting pot with so much of the international flavor here. Translation: rankings are one thing, reality is another, and the reality is that Alex Eala draws crowds that players ranked above her can only dream of.
Let's look at the data that backed Blake's position. Ayala's pre-tournament press conference at the Australian Open in January drew 196,000 views on YouTube. Carlos Alcaraz, the eventual men's champion and arguably the most exciting young player in tennis, 29,000. Aryna Sabalenka, the world #1 and two-time Australian Open champion, just 9,000. In Dubai, ticket sales jumped 48% year-on-year, a spike directly attributable to Ayala's presence. Tournament director Salah Talak admitted she attracted a new demographic to the tennis, and the stadium was sold out for all her matches. People were desperately trying to get tickets, but they were all gone. We've never seen anything like it. At Indian Wells, fans lined up 6 hours before Ayala's second-round match against Diana Yastremska, wrapped in winter coats and blankets, determined to secure a seat. When rain delays pushed the match to late evening, making it the latest starting match of the entire tournament, they stayed, they cheered, they refused to leave until their hero acknowledged them. And when Ayala faced Coco Gauff in the third round, Stadium 1 was packed with 16,000 fans, many waving Philippine flags, creating an atmosphere that even Gauff had to acknowledge afterward. The match itself lasted only 54 minutes. Gauff, struggling with a left arm injury she later described as feeling like a firework going off inside my arm, was forced to retire early in the second set. But even in defeat, the moment belonged to Ayala. I really didn't want to win this way, but this is still a really big moment for me, to be able to play in Stadium 1 of Indian Wells and against such a great competitor, Ayala said afterward. Her ranking climbed to a career-high number 29 as a result of the run. Now she returns to Miami with 390 ranking points to defend from her 2025 semifinal, points that will expire the moment the tournament begins. An early exit could see her ranking plummet back to the 50-60 range she occupied at the start of the year. But Blake isn't worried about rankings. He's worried about the 10,000 Filipino fans expected to descend on Hard Rock Stadium starting March 17.
The decision to put Ayala on center court isn't symbolic, it's practical. Hard Rock Stadium's main court seats thousands of fans. It's equipped with the broadcast infrastructure for global television. It's where the tournament's biggest moments happen. And beginning March 19 or 20 after her first round bye, Alex Eala will walk onto that court as a seeded player for the very first time in her Miami Open career. Her first opponent will be either Laura Siegemund, the experienced German veteran, or Petra Marchenko, a promising young Croatian. Win that match, and a potential third-round showdown with Iga Świątek looms, a rematch of the 2025 quarterfinal where Ayala stunned the then world #2 in straight sets. Świątek answered that loss a month later at the Madrid Open, battling back from a set down to win 4-6, 6-4, 6-2. Now, 1 year later, they could meet again on the same stage where their rivalry began. But regardless of who Ayala faces, one thing is certain: the crowd will be overwhelmingly on her side. Blake understands this intimately. Miami being sort of a cultural melting pot with so much of the international flavor here means that Filipino fans don't just show up, they transform the atmosphere. They turn tennis matches into celebrations of national pride. They make opponents feel like they're playing in Manila no matter what city they're actually in.
It's gonna feel like home matches for both of them, Blake said, referring to Ayala and Fonseca. For Ayala, the center court assignment is validation of everything she's built over the past year, from wild card qualifier ranked number 140 to seeded player on the biggest stage. The journey has been nothing short of remarkable. I always make it a point to be grateful, Ayala has said repeatedly. Coming from where I come from, I've seen some serious poverty. I've seen serious struggle. Although I haven't lived through that struggle myself, I'm able to appreciate what I have. What she has now is the respect of tournament directors, who understand that she's not just another player, she's a phenomenon.
The WTA's pushback against Blake's decision reveals something uncomfortable about the organization's relationship with its own stars. For decades, the hierarchy was simple. Rankings determined everything: who plays on center court, who gets the prime time slots, who commands the largest appearance fees, all dictated by a numerical system that supposedly reflected competitive merit. Alex Eala has shattered that system. She's ranked number 29 in the world. She's never won a Grand Slam. She's never even reached a WTA 1000 final. And yet she draws crowds that players ranked above her can only dream of. She generates press conference views that dwarf the world number one. She sells tickets in numbers that make tournament directors salivate. On the Nothing Major podcast, former pros Sam Querrey, John Isner, and Steve Johnson dissected the phenomenon. Querrey framed the debate simply: is she the biggest draw in women's tennis right now? In the world? Is she bigger than Sabalenka? Is she bigger than Coco? Johnson didn't hesitate. Yes. Dude, it's crazy. Like in Australia, the court was standing room only. Then Dubai, standing room only. It's insane. It's massive. The crowd she's getting right now, like all over the world, is insane. Querrey added, even though she's not top 10 in the world, when you get to these tournaments, now she has to play on center court because the crowds are so big. That's the reality that WTA is struggling to accept. Rankings matter, but so does connection, so does representation, so does the ability to fill stadiums with fans who traveled across oceans just to watch you play. Veteran referee Hani El Kafif, who has officiated at the Dubai tournament for more than 3 decades, put it best. He'd seen Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, the Williams sisters. He thought he understood what a packed house looked like. Then Ayala made her Dubai debut. This was a different experience, El Kafif said. I have seen big matches. I've seen Federer, Djokovic, Nadal, and Agassi. Obviously, those matches had full houses, but this was a very different atmosphere. What made it different? The flags, the chants, the families, the sense that something bigger than tennis was happening. When players come from countries like the Philippines, the stadium feels like a Davis Cup venue, El Kafif observed. People are cheering for their country, not just for one player. That's what Agassi understands, that the WTA bureaucracy apparently doesn't. Ayala isn't just playing for herself. She's playing for 115 million Filipinos who never had a tennis star before. She's playing for a diaspora scattered across the globe, nurses in Dubai, engineers in California, caregivers in Canada, who finally have someone to rally behind. And when those fans show up, they transform tournaments. They create atmospheres that money can't buy. They bring energy that elevates every match they attend. Tommy Haas said at Indian Wells, defending his own decision to put Ayala on Stadium 1. Same for Ayala, having all the Philippine fans coming to support her. It's fantastic. The WTA can either adapt to this new reality or keep fighting losing battles with tournament directors who understand what their own data shows.
The Miami Open marks a turning point in how tennis handles its biggest draws. James Blake's stand against WTA pressure sends a message that will echo through every tournament Ayala enters for the rest of her career. Rankings are no longer the only currency that matters. Connection, passion, and cultural impact count too. The ripple effects are already visible. In Indian Wells, Tommy Haas defended his scheduling decisions with similar conviction. In Dubai, tournament officials moved Ayala's matches to center courts without hesitation. In Melbourne, the Australian Open issued a public statement acknowledging they needed to improve operations after the Court 6 debacle. Tournament directors are learning. The question is whether the WTA will learn with them. Ayala, for her part, remains focused on what matters, the tennis. She enters Miami as the 31st seed, with a first-round bye, defending 390 ranking points that could make or break her top 30 status. A potential third-round clash with Świątek looms, a chance to prove that her 2025 victory was no fluke. It doesn't matter if I win the tournament in Miami or if I lose in the first round. I know I'm here, and I'm here to stay, Ayala said after Indian Wells. That confidence comes from knowing that her value to the sport extends beyond wins and losses. She's building something bigger than a tennis career. She's building a bridge between a global game and a nation that never had access before. And as she walks onto center court at Hard Rock Stadium, surrounded by thousands of Filipino flags, thousands of voices chanting in Tagalog, thousands of hearts beating as one, she'll carry that weight with grace. Because that's what champions do.
James Blake just did what more tournament directors should do. He stood up to the WTA and defended the players who actually fill stadiums. Alex Eala's center court assignment at the Miami Open isn't favoritism, it's reality. The 20-year-old Filipina draws crowds that players ranked above her can only dream of. She generates revenue that keeps tournaments viable. She represents a nation of 115 million people who finally have someone to call their own. The WTA can either adapt to this new reality or keep fighting losing battles with directors who understand what their own data shows. Rankings matter, but so does connection, so does representation, so does the ability to transform a tennis match into a cultural celebration. Was Blake right to go off on the WTA? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to Rally Radar now for daily WTA news, match breakdowns, and stories that go beyond the scoreline. Because at Rally Radar, every day is match day.